estimates on all parameters.
Vodafone Idea FPO shares open at a 7% premium. Kumar Mangalam Birla is upbeat on the company's revival. Shares of Bharat Forge also rally after an upgrade coming in from Bank of America. But Dalmia Bharat tumbles after Q4 profits, declined by 47%. Hello and welcome to Markets Forward, your go-to show where we aim to get you all the updates with regard to what went on in today's trading session, and we set you up for tomorrow's trade as well. I'm Nigel D'Souza. Joining me, my colleague Shilpa.
Hi Nigel, Bulls really charging ahead. Maybe it was expiry impact playing out, whatever it was, but I think they'd be quite happy after 2 lackluster days. We had lots of green today.
Well, that's right, Shilpa. Expiry really played out in favor of the Bulls, and we were mentioning this earlier, that I like when the market is net short. When the market's a net short, it gives you reasons to see short covering. We woke up to a negative start, but that dip got bought into. Kotak Mahindra Bank was reacting to the RBI's rap on its knuckles. But the PSU banking space, well, that one was flying away in trade. So both of them moved in opposite direction. Kotak Mahindra Bank all through the session moved lower. No signs of buying out there. While you had the PSU banking index that ended at the high point of the day. The stock of the day, though, was Vodafone Idea. The street believes that they will survive now and they're in revival mode. But will they thrive? Well, time will tell. So they've gotten through that stage where, in fact, they're going to survive. That's what the street is baking in. For the next couple of years, they've got it covered. So massive volumes out there. The stock ended higher with a gain after starting off in the red. But Shilpa, what else?
No, absolutely. No, I take your point because I think today it was very heartening to note the reaction in other banks, not just PSU, but even large private sector lenders, because the Kotak damage was limited to just that one stock, Kotak. If you look at the bank nifty, if you look at the other movers and shakers there, Axis, like we told you in the headlines, flying 6%, SBI, ICICI Bank, a lot of the other names were standing tall. And that's why that index didn't have such a bad session. A word on the broader market, however, today was a very large cap specific day. The broader markets underperformed. If you see the mid cap index, it's up about just about 0.5%, whereas the Nifty put on about 0.75% of a gain. And even in terms of the advance decline ratio, I mean, advances were outnumbering declines, but it was more of a neck-to-neck situation, really. So more about large caps flying higher. We'll talk about this action as we go on. Let's tell you what the lineup today is looking like. We'll start off, of course, as always, with the key movers and shakers of the day. Vivek will bring in the action. Then we get to the stocks of the day. Plenty of those names there. Dalmia Bharat, Bharat Forge and Vodafone Idea. And we'll tell you why we have picked these 3 buzzers for you. And then, of course, we get to our popular segment, D-Street Chatter. Nimesh today is going to be focusing on all that's buzzing in today's trading session. And of course, towards the end of the show, we will tell you about the market events that you need to watch out for tomorrow's trading session. But let's talk about the movers and shakers of the day. Vivek, over to you.
Well, good afternoon. Very good session. Like you mentioned, the damage from Kotak was largely balanced by the other banks. So one of the banks that actually helped offset the pain there was Axis Bank. Very strong set of numbers. Stock ended high by 6%. The other stock on the radar from the broader end of the markets, Hitachi Energy, not a stock we discuss too often. Recently, there was a note from Goldman Sachs, indicating a buy rating. There's strong commentary coming in from the global parent as well. And on the back of that, Hitachi Energy India, that is the stock that you're talking about. That stock spiked in the trading session, up over 13%. The third stock on our radar today is Godfrey Phillips. Godfrey Phillips, again, ended as the second top gainer as far as the NSE 500 is concerned. Channel checks indicate that some of the newer packs that the company have launched are seeing significant traction, and on the back of that, that particular stock up almost 10% on very good volumes. The fourth stock was MCX. Yesterday, one of the top laggards, earnings in terms of the options volumes missed expectations, but today, the stock completely recovering from that and ending high by over 8%. The fourth stock, of course, is Neogen Chemicals. Today, Kotak Institutional Equities initiated coverage on the stock. They are very, very positive in terms of the company being one of the sole suppliers as far as the EV value chain is concerned. The stock higher by 12% today. And lastly, Bharat Forge, very, very strong move, a double upgrade from BofA Securities, aiding the up move in this particular name. But on the other hand, when it comes to the losing pack, you cannot skip Kotak Mahindra Bank, down over 10%. RBI action, something that saw the sell-off. Dalmia Bharat was the next stock, EBITDA coming in much lower than what, the CNBC TV18 poll was. And also commentary was quite weak in terms of pricing recovery was concerned. being pushed out almost to the second half of FY25. And lastly, Indian hotels, very strong set of numbers, but despite that, the stocks saw quite a bit of a sell-off. Quite a few analysts have gone ahead and downgraded the stock. They believe at this expensive valuations, there is limited upside left.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for that, Vivek. Well, let's get in our experts. We have Ambareesh Baliga, a fundamental expert, and we have Shilpa Rout of Prabhudas Lilladher, who joins us on the show. Hello, lady and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining in. Shilpa, you tell us about the technicals. Well, this market wants to move up. What are the levels you're looking at on the Nifty in the near term?
We have been discussing time and again that yes, Nifty will be testing 22,700 to 22,800 on near-term basis, and anything above that will see new lifetime highs above 23,000. So that is how it is playing out. And any dip now towards 22,200 should be a buy, and that is where we believe a good support has been formed, and from there we should always bounce back for targets of 22,000 and above. For Bank Nifty, also 48,500 is somewhere we have closed today. So this move, if we continue tomorrow as well, and we somehow open above this levels, we will see 49,500 coming in very quick.
Okay, got that. Well, let's focus on the sector of the day. The banking names. On the upside, you had Axis Bank reacting to its numbers, while Kotak Mahindra Bank, rap on the knuckles from the RBI, was low. Abhishek joins us to fill us in with more details. Abhishek, take it away.
Well, Axis Bank had a wonderful quarter with respect to every parameter that you can think of. Gross NPA ratio was the lowest in last 34 quarters. Net NPA ratio was the lowest in last 35 quarters. Now, restructured book is the lowest in last 14 quarters, coming in at 1.16% of the loans. Now, net interest margin, analysts do peg in that it will decline on a sequential basis anywhere between 8 to 10 basis points, but it actually improved 5 basis points on a sequential basis without a one-off. So ROA has touched 2% for the first time. ROE has touched 20% plus for the first time in last 9 years. If you take a look at the annualized slippage ratio, it's the lowest in last 14 quarters, coming in at 1.44%, and CASA ratio has improved for the first time in last 4 quarters. With reference to the PNL, both the ANA and PAT were ahead of our poll. Coming on to Kotak Bank, RBI has taken action against Kotak Bank. RBI asked Kotak Mahindra Bank to stop issuing new credit cards as well as onboarding customers onto their mobile as well as online applications. So credit card portfolio for Kotak Mahindra Bank stood at about 13,880 crore, which grew by 52% YOY and 10% quarter on quarter in Q3 FY24. As of March, if you take a look at the RBI data, total cards of Kotak Mahindra Bank were about 59.5 lakh. Market share over there with reference to the card was about 5.85%. In terms of spends, the market share was at 4.44%, and the average spend was about 12,300 versus industry average spend of 16,200. So if you take a look, a peer comparison in terms of market share, Kotak Mahindra Bank is at 5th with reference to the other lenders, HDFC Bank, State Bank of India, ICICI Bank and Axis Bank taking the top 4 places. How has been March for Kotak Mahindra Bank with respect to the RBI data? Spends have increased 19.6% month on month. Cards have declined by 1.5% month on month, and spends per card has increased by 21.35% month on month. Remember that credit card is a very good portfolio for any bank with reference to high yielding and net interest margin accretion. Back to you.
Thanks a lot for that, Abhishek. Well, let's tell you about the cement pack, Dalmia Bharat. That one got clunked back in trade earlier today. I pointed it out in my morning chat that, in fact, that one could be the stock of the day, and it was the stock of the day. On the top line, there was a beat because of higher volumes. With the higher volumes came in from the agreement they have with JPA. So that helped the top line, but it hurt the margins. And that's why margins were under pressure. The margins contracted to sub 16%, which was a miss. Why was the compression on margins despite having operating leverage that played out? Well, one was that, you had realizations that contracted more than expected. They're up for you on the screen. And you had costs. Some of those costs went up higher than expected. So you had freight costs, other expenditure as well that's higher. The profit number, you'll say, well, it's much better. Why are you saying it's a miss? Well, the profit number is higher because of higher other income, which is normally one-off. And you had taxes that were effectively lower. And the other problem was that, as the numbers were weak, but the stock cracked after the commentary coming in from their con call. So they said that the focus is more on volumes, not on profitability. They're going to be growing 1.5 times the street, which is good. Unfortunately, they're saying pricing will not have much power in the first half of the year. Only in the second half of the year, they'll see some kind of strength coming in. And the JPA acquisition, they're expecting to close somewhere during the course of the year. Cost as well, they're getting only for 1 to 2% reduction out there. and they're guiding for a big capex spend as well. So Surbhi, the short point is the numbers were disappointing. They're focusing on volumes and market share, which isn't good news for pricing. That's where the stock ended sharply lower.
Okay, get that, about 8% lower. So really quite the disappointing result reaction of the day. Let's quickly go across and take this up with both Ambareesh and Shilpa. Let's start with the banking moves that we've seen. Ambareesh, what's your sense? Would you be a buyer on Kotak after the huge dip that we've seen today?
At these levels, yes. I would be a buyer because I think the correction has been decent, and we have seen such an action against HDFC Bank too in the past. So basically, the effect lasts for a quarter or two maximum. However, it's always expected that compliance levels would be high for banks like these, but this anyway proves otherwise. But still, I think at these levels, one could look to buy Kotak, but I think the holding period would be at least about 6 to 9 months before we see. I would say this is positive for SBI Cards and HDFC Bank because both are the competitors for Kotak as far as credit cards are concerned.
Got it. Shilpa, technicals usually are all about buying the strength. So I don't know, what's your view on Kotak Mahindra Bank? And the converse, Axis, which has had such a dream run, how would that shape up? And, do you see a trade here?
Yes, definitely. So the Kotak Bank, I would agree that, it has corrected quite steep from here, and 1600, if somebody's looking for a near-term support right now, I believe 1600 to 1580 zones, this is where the support should come, and any further dip from here is likely not to happen on immediate basis, so one can definitely start accumulating on these levels. And Axis Bank definitely is holding, and it is heading towards 1220 to 1250 zones, so you should be a buyer, and your trailing stop loss, I believe the stock is very well placed for a good upside of more than 100 points from here as well.
Okay, got that. Let's quickly move on and talk about Vodafone Idea now. Those FPO shares listed at a 7% premium today on the exchanges. Chairman Kumar Mangalam Birla says that fresh investments will trigger a cycle of growth as the company has raised 18,000 crore rupees in this follow-on public offer. He also dismissed any talk of a sale of shares by the government. Listen.
Mr. Birla, many congratulations on this big fundraise. Do you think that most of the problems of Vodafone Idea that the group had been struggling with over many years, that is sorted for the next few years with this issuance?
I think so. Without a doubt, right? We've been in the sector for 2.5 decades now, which shows our commitment to the sector and to Digital India.
Yes.
And this is, like I said, a fresh lease of life for the company.
And what about Industar stake sale? Do you have an arrangement with Vodafone PLC that the entire amount of their stake sale proceeds will be infused in this listed company?
Well, not really, but we're going to see as it comes. So nothing specific at this point.
As per the arrangement, what percentage is there?
I think we are not talking about industry.
Yeah.
Please.
All right, and the government stake sale, is there any indication on that at any point
stake
to monetize?
Sale, we're not talking about stake sale at all.
Moving to the next stock in focus, Bharat Forge. Well, the stock rallied a whopping 8% in trade, post a brokerage upgrade. Nimesh joins us to fill us in with more on that. Nimesh.
Well, Nigel, there is a double upgrade on Bharat Forge from BofA Securities, and that is the reason why the stock ended 8% higher. So they've upgraded the stock to a buy now from underperform, and they've raised the target price to 1450. Now, BofA expects the US tech down cycle to be very short, shallow, as well as priced in. They are not seeing any softness as far as the production yet, and the freight indicators are also looking like bottomed out. They see new wheels of growth for Bharat Forge, which includes higher revenues from the defense segment, PV sales at an all-time high, as well as the industrial casting segment seeing a bit of a rebound. So that's what the business looks like. The stock actually has underperformed Y2D both from local as well as global players, and which is why the risk reward seems favorable to BofA Securities. Now they are actually forecasting an EPS CAGR of 20% and an EBITDA CAGR of 20% plus for the next couple of years between FY24 and FY26. So a big upgrade to a buy now with a target price of 1450 on Bharat Forge.
Okay, got that. Thanks very much, Nimesh, for that. Bharat Forge indeed having a very good session today. Ambareesh, so just sort of final thoughts. We discussed a whole bunch of stocks. We also discussed, of course, cement and the fall in Dalmia Bharat. Maybe any views here, given a lot of these pricing concerns that Nigel was describing?
No, in fact, we were expecting the margins to improve, across the cement space. But now with the sort of numbers which Dalmia Bharat has come, clearly it shows that they're looking at the top line more than the bottom line. So I think this pressure will continue as far as Dalmia Bharat is concerned. But overall, if you're talking of the cement space, Ultratech, and Ambuja as well as ACC, in fact, I see the margins improving going ahead. So those would be my picks. So not Dalmia Bharat for the time being.
Thank you, Shilpa, as well as Ambareesh, for joining in and filling us in with your take on a couple of the stocks. Wishing you all a good evening and then, in fact, a good Friday before you'll get into the weekend. Well, let's run you through some top corporate voices of the day. HUL's management sees a gradual recovery in rural demand. For the premium beauty and wellness space, they're expecting high growth to continue. The management also said that pricing growth will be positive in the second half of this year and are evaluating all options. We spoke to the management of Macrotech Developers as well, popularly known as Lilladher. For FY25, well, the real estate players targeting 20% growth in pre-sales. With volume growth of around 14%, they also aim to expand in markets that they're currently present. Finally, the management of DCB Bank has guided for net interest margins in the range of 3.65% to around 3.75%, credit costs of around 0.3%. They also aim to double the balance sheet size in the next 3 to around 3.5 years.
All right. Well, that's a lot of the corporate commentary that we picked up today. With that, it is time for a quick break. We'll come back on the other side, get you a popular segment, T Street Chatter, and all the events to watch out for tomorrow. Welcome back. It's time now for D Street Chatter. Nimesh is here to get us the insights from dealing rooms today. Nimesh, good session today, at least for the large cap space.
Oh, absolutely. Very strong momentum in the market and led by the PSUs. The PSU bank index was up and there were a lot of PSU stocks which are buzzing in trade today. In terms of individual names though, but the first stock on my list is BHEL. That stock was buzzing into it on large volumes from larger HNIs. I understand the street is anticipating some large order wins for the company very soon. That explains the big move in BHEL today. The second name is SBI. Within the PSU bank stocks, SBI was well bid by large institutions. So there was very high delivery buying in SBI in today's market. And additionally, the Yes Bank stake sale could be the next big trigger according to some analysts, and hence that stock saw a big move today. The third name is Kotak Mahindra Bank. Ended at day's low, big selling from that on that stock from larger FIs. In fact, it didn't recover throughout the day. I understand some large long-only investors were aggressive sellers, posed RBI action on Kotak Mahindra Bank. And the last is Century Textile. Within the real estate names, this took stand out. Big volumes from larger HNIs is what I understand. And a couple of large HNI investors seem to be quite active buyer as well in Century Textile of late.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for that, Nimesh. Well, let's wind this down then. But before we do that, let's get in Vamakshi. She's going to tell us all the key events we need to track for tomorrow's trading session. Vamakshi, take it away.
Well, absolutely. Let me first start off with all the earnings that are expected to come through tomorrow. A whole host of counters will be in focus on account of that. Keep an eye out on HCL Tech, Maruti Suzuki, Mastech, SBI Cards, SBI Life, as well as Shriram Finance. All of these counters will be reporting their numbers. Now, apart from that, also watch out for hospital stocks, and that is because the Supreme Court may take up the hearing of PIL seeking standardization of hospital rates. NSE is expected to impose additional exposure margin on some F&O stocks. Framework is expected to be effective from tomorrow, and that will be immediately after the expiry of April 2024 contracts. They are also revising the lot size applicable for Nifty, Midcap Select and FinNifty. The second phase of the polling also begins tomorrow. 88 parliamentary constituencies in 13 states and union territories are scheduled for polling. And lastly, from the global market perspective, keep an eye out on Bank of Japan's interest rate decision from the US markets.
Okay, all right, Vamakshi, thank you very much for that. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Markets Forward. We'll be right back with more news and updates.
Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki here. The head